you all to today's webinar. My name is Ed Beck. I am one of the co-chairs of FACT2's task group that has been exploring experiential learning this last year. FACT2 is an advisory council to the SUNY Provost, and we focus on the areas of teaching and technology. FACT2 has a long tradition in SUNY of doing webinars, of course, doing the annual conference at CIT, and connecting people from across the different campuses to do the innovative and exciting work that we do. And I've been really enjoying this year. Uh, I've been really enjoying highlighting the different folks around SUNY who have been doing this work for experiential learning. We have a whole webinar series planned, and I will pop that into the chat. We have, this is our second webinar of a planned 6. And so it's exciting for us to be able to, this semester, really focus on the idea of experiential learning. And we wanted to acknowledge as we started here that this is not completely new ground in SUNY. We are building on a long commitment, going back to, I think all the way goes back to Chancellor Zimpher with his applied learning focus back in 2015. And many of the people who have been participating in the task group itself or attending these webinars, they come through that rich experience. And so when we talk about experiential learning in SUNY, we already have, pretty good definitions to work on, and it's been informed by our professional societies. We've been thinking about the way that experiential learning involves different areas of pre-planning, that it involves some kind of concrete learning experience, that it includes reflection, and then it includes that integration and mentoring with a faculty member that helps to provide that context and to help connect the curriculum to the everyday experience or the experiential learning opportunity that those students are going through. In SUNY, they made 3 big buckets that fall under this big umbrella term of experiential learning, and they define those as SUNY Works, SUNY Serves, and SUNY Discovers. Under SUNY Works, that's where they really have the co-ops, the internships, the work study programs, clinical placements, a lot of what we really think of as the gold standard of experiential learning that we're going to get a chance to talk about today. We also have that bucket of SUNY Serves. That's our service learning opportunities. That's our community service. That's our civic engagement. That's our volunteerism that we do as part of SUNY. And then we have that SUNY Discovers bucket. That's our research, our entrepreneurship programs, our field study programs, our experiences of broad and global learning. And then we also have those creative works. So, it's been a real pleasure to have all of that and to highlight this broad range of opportunities and really to foster some dialogue in between these 2 areas as well. And I hope that comes out as part of our focus. So I'm going to stop waxing poetic about experiential learning and what it means in SUNY and start to invite our panelists for today to invite them to introduce themselves. And the first person who I'm going to invite up to introduce themselves is Urszula Zalewski. She's the Director of Experiential Learning and Student Employment from Stony Brook University.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me? I just want to make sure that you can see me and hear me. Okay, because I had some problems with Zoom. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Urszula Zalewski. I'm from Stony Brook University. I have a pleasure to work in the Career Center for the last 21 years with amazing people, including students, faculty, and our departments. And it's a pleasure to be here today and talk to you.
All right. The next panelist who I'm going to invite to introduce herself is Hope Martin. Hope is the director of the Applied Learning Coordinator at SUNY Geneseo. Just gave you a promotion, Hope.
Was gonna say thanks for the promotion, Ed. It's nice to be here with you all today. Like Ed said, my name is Hope Martin. She, her pronouns. I'm the Applied Learning Coordinator at SUNY Geneseo. I'll talk a little bit more when it comes my turn about what exactly that means. But I have been at SUNY Geneseo in this role. Actually, this is only the end of my first academic year as Applied Learning Coordinator in our Career Design Center, though I was previously in sort of the SUNY Serve side of things, working in student volunteerism and community engaged learning. So I'm very happy to be here with you all today.
And then our final panelist coming to us from the University of Buffalo is Melissa Ruggiero, and she is the Senior Associate Director in the School of Management Career Resource Center.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. And actually, 2 years ago, I became the director. So I'm assistant dean and director. And where you found that info at, I'd like to know it so I could edit it maybe. Anyway, it is a pleasure to be on this panel today. Thank you for inviting me. I have worked in career services for more than 28 years. And much of that time I spent assisting to manage or managing experiential learning programs for credit and not for credit. And now I supervise the staff that directs those efforts. So I'm very pleased to share our best practices and have conversations about what we can all do better.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. One of the big themes that we're seeing from across SUNY, and it goes back to the Board of Trustees, it goes back to the directives we got from SUNY, is exploring the ideas of scaling experiential learning. And it's one of the things that has been kind of a challenge put on us by our institutions, by SUNY. And so that's going to be our first question that I'm going to start to ask the different panelists. As we rethink partnerships, we're thinking about funding models, we're thinking about program structures, and it seems to always be to expand access to internships. And I want each of you to talk about what that means for you at your institution. Hope, why don't we start with you?
Sure, happy to start. Barriers, there are many, many, many barriers, as we all know in this room, that students face when dealing with applied learning and accessing those opportunities, whether they be internships or even, like I said, my old pot, things like community engaged learning. I would say at SUNY Geneseo, something that is not at all unique to us, but is very, very at the forefront of my mind in terms of connecting students with internship opportunities is lack of transportation. Not only individual lack of student of transportation in terms of students maybe not having their driver's license, not having their own personal cars, not having the means to afford doing so, but because Geneseo, though we're only about 30 minutes, give or take a little bit from Rochester, we are in a very rural area, so we do not have really any adequate public transportation that students can rely on for off-campus internships. There is one bus route that sometimes goes to Rochester. I'm not even sure if it goes every day. It's very variable. So that is a really large barrier that we face. Other barriers, of course, are work restrictions that some international students face when they're looking to get connected with internships. Of course, the financial barriers that come with unpaid work. But I think for us, lack of transportation is very, very, very impactful for our students. Yes. Ed, should I be talking about things that we were working on, or
Yeah,
is that
you kind of
okay?
gave me some blues here. So give me some
Yes,
hope. Tell
yes.
tell, tell me what
Um,
Geneseo is doing next.
Excellent, excellent. Lots of different things. Of course, we have through the SUNY incremental funds, like most SUNY schools, we have our internship and living stipends, and we do try to encourage students to use those towards transportation expenses like gas, mileage, things like that. That said, if students don't already have cars, that still remains a barrier. Uber can be an option, of course, but Geneseo actually is so rural that we don't even have many Uber drivers. So what I'm doing particularly in the realm of lack of transportation, is really working to bolster our on-campus and walkable opportunities. On campus, we have a pilot program. We're wrapping up the academic year pilot this year. It's called CLIC, which is the Career Launch Internship Collective, CLIC. That's just CLIC is just a fun way to brand that and say that. So we have 27 students this academic year. And for scale, Geneseo is a smaller school. So this semester we have 160 students total doing internships, better credit bearing both on and off campus. And then CLIC, a much smaller pool of that, is 27 students. They're placed in 14 different academic departments. And I work closely with those supervisors to help. Some of the departments haven't even hosted interns before, because we're really trying to expand this so that our students that aren't able to go off campus for whatever reason, whether that be transportation, their own personal comfort, have these experiences. And the departments range a lot. That's worth knowing. It's really worth reaching out to departments you might not have thought about connecting with for internships before. So some of the ones we have range from the provost's office has a bunch, and this is their first time ever hosting student interns, and they are hosting 4 and doing a really great job and loving it. We have our newly formed School of Arts and Sciences, like our overarching academic school. We have athletics, LGBTQ life, multicultural affairs, and brand new veterans affairs branch of our school. They haven't been super active in the past couple of years, nor have they hosted interns. So that's really exciting. Our Title IX office, and we even have our CIT office hosted an intern in the fall through the CLIC program. We have academic departments like the Department of Communications. So that is a really big way that we are trying to bolster and increase those opportunities on campus for students that can't go off campus. Another thing,
it seems like a big theme on many campuses.
Yes.
We've been talking in my own center at the faculty center at SUNY Oneonta about expanding from having 1 intern to 6 interns, growing that program over a period of several semesters. And so we're thinking along those same lines. It seems to be a very common theme. Melissa, I wanted to invite you into the conversation, and I'll pose to you the same question. We're bought in. We believe in internships. There's barriers, there's systematic barriers, but our institutions are reimagining what it can look like with funding opportunities. What's that look like at University of Buffalo?
Well, I should mention that I'm specifically within the School of Management. So I am a decanal unit, and though I used to work at the university-wide career center, what we collaborate with the university-wide career center, and some of the same efforts as Geneseo are happening here. And but specifically in the School of Management, since we're a ranked school, we have our own career center. We are doing several things to break down the barriers. And I agree with all those barriers that Hope mentioned, that there's also single parents that don't have the time to do the extra hours that it takes for internships. Students who have to work part-time wherever it is that they're working, and they feel like they can't stop that to do an internship because they won't get that job back. So there's plethora of other barriers, but transportation is one of our biggest ones. And that's one of the things that I want to focus on with potential remedies or reimagining what we can do. We teach 2 classes, career classes, one for all of the sophomores, one for all the juniors. And the sophomores were posed, who was the sophomores? They were posed a question and worked with our entrepreneurship group on campus to do a sprint. And the question was the issue with transportation and internships. So how can the university support students with internship opportunities given the transportation issues? Now, I haven't gotten all the results back. Really wish I had them before today's meeting, but they were brainstorming on ways that we can have relationships with our transportation department to, if we get funding together, or we get a group of student entrepreneurs that want to find a way to monetize what the transportation department can do to provide circuits of travel to key areas for students who have internships. Their own Uber-esque sort of practice. There's a variety of things that they're supposed to be coming up with that I'm going to find out really soon. I'm excited about it. But we are collaborating with our department, our transportation department, to see what can be done. We just got like new buses for things. I don't know what happened to the old buses, so we'll see what's going on.
I love that you pose that to your own students.
Yes, we like to put it in their hands that they have ownership of it as well. And they'll come up with things that, we're too narrow thinking in comparison. So we have to savor and celebrate our students' brain power. Another way that we are really not so much, well, it's partially scaling, which is part of the original question that you asked, but it's remedying some of the situations, especially for our international students. So if you know anything about UB, especially the School of Management, we have a large number of international students, mostly at the graduate level. So does our engineering. And it's difficult, especially if you're in a one-year master's program, you can't do an internship. And if someone is a career switcher, they were a developer, or they have their undergraduate in computer science and now they want to work in finance. But if they have no work experience in finance, they feel they feel disenfranchised and not able to compete with other people who are have more experience in finance going into their master's program. So we have been really ramping up our relationships with employers who take interns and who hire from us, and those who haven't had any relationships with us, to provide data sets, to provide projects, problems, and our students are put in groups to solve those problems. So it's not as good as an internship in terms of having the employer relationship and being physically at your employer, but it still, our office's task is not only to help find these opportunities for the faculty who are doing these in class, but then also help the students present this on their resume in a way that looks as close to an internship as possible. And one last thing, we have something called the Projects Clinic, where we got grant money to hire our students, and in this case, many of the students are international, but they're students who are having trouble finding internships elsewhere. So they're working on short sprint projects, and the university is paying for them. They are a university employee. The company is getting this project done for them for free, with the hopes that they will test out these students and potentially hire them as interns or full-time later. We don't let them just keep giving us projects and they get the stuff for free, right? But these aren't semester-long gigs. These are short-term projects, and one student might work on 5 in a semester with 5 different companies, when their supervisor is a faculty member. So it is one way to give internship-esque experience in a way that scales to multiple. So instead of one person working on an internship, it's 5 students doing it faster. And then you get more students having these experiences. So there's other ways we've scaled, but in terms of overcoming barriers, that was something I wanted to mention.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm going to put a pin in that because I want to return to course-based, which you talked about, where you're making connections and providing data sets and problems for courses to work on. And I also want to return to that team-based approach where you have that projects clinic. But before we do that, let's invite Urszula into the conversation.
Okay, thank you. I'm not going to talk about as much about transportation because it seems like a lot of our campuses face the same issues, but definitely I want to focus also on financial constraints, limited professional networks, geographic limitations where we are located as an institution. So I think that our Stony Brook University, we are addressing these challenges by definitely expanding paid internship opportunities to our students, in addition to strengthening relationships and probably training for our on-campus supervisors as well as off-campus employers, and also embedding internships in academic programs. And just to briefly talk about unpaid internships, a lot of academic internships for credit are unpaid. We were lucky to receive money from SUNY. We call it Internship Equity Fund. And we created a system for the last 3 semesters. This is our 3rd semester that we are awarding students with financial support through stipends through the Internship Equity Fund based on credit-bearing internships. If this is research or pure internship opportunity, we feel that students have to be in one way or another compensated just to be able to survive through their own expenses and costs of education. In addition, we also are incorporating across our campus and we talk to our employers about creating promotional model. Ed, you mentioned before how we sustain internships, how we keep students longer in these internships. So we created a model that we do a credit-bearing internship in the 1st semester, and then the department that is hiring a student either on campus or off campus, they created a promotion for the student who is becoming elevated paid intern. Very often we call them senior interns. And then to stay in the same position, we also invite these superstars to come back to us in the 2nd year to work for the 2nd year as a, more of a leader, peer education leader, and serving as a mentor to other students who are new in the internship program. And this works very well on our campus. So a lot of departments are incorporating this model based, of course, on the funding. In terms of strengthening on-campus and off-campus employer relationships, I feel there is a lot of actually young professionals who are being hired into on-campus departments. They don't have the proper training how to supervise interns. And because we grew the program on our campus from 100 in 2015 to 1,000 in 2022, we definitely need more support to be provided to young supervisors who didn't have experience of supervision before. So this is one thing. In addition, I think that the most important part also is to focus on hybrid and remote internship opportunities within specific industries and what kind of system we have to actually provide our students with these opportunities. So throughout the semesters, despite lack of transportation, they will be able to gain the industry-specific experience. And finally, how do we invent the experiential opportunities like internships into curriculum and the coursework and academic programs? We are lucky that in 2012, the decision was made to actually focus on EXP Plus, not necessarily a requirement, but an option. So students have an option to take an internship as an elective class to actually expedite their graduation, gain the skills, gain the experience, and have the opportunity to actually complete several internships before they graduate. So this opportunity expanded the number of students who have access to these opportunities and who actually expedite the graduation because of this. And also what I want to lastly mention is internship is definitely a long-term phrase that we used. However, I feel like all of our campuses have to focus on other similar experiences embedded in curriculum. So we are champions of forage job simulations. I'm sure that many SUNY campuses are using forage. This is additional way to actually incorporate forage job simulations into curriculum, into different classes classes with our faculty and led students to finish cases that are connected with industry-specific 500 Fortune companies to gain the additional experiences beyond the regular internships that they gaining throughout academic careers at our universities.
Yeah. Urszula, you bring up so many good points. I want to focus on two of them because it was the preparing your own supervisors. So let's just pretend, hypothetically, that I'm a young career professional and I am embedding internships into my own department, perhaps seeking to grow it from having supervised one internship, or to maybe six or a small team, like me. What kind of support are you giving your on-campus supervisors? What does that look like for the services that you're providing for those supervisors on campus to help them transform that? Perhaps it's a work-study job into a more meaningful internship that is meant to invite that student to grow and gain those career competencies.
So I can start that what we have set of different types of trainings that we provide to supervisors. They don't have to be necessarily new to their position, but someone who would like to advance their skills and now become a mentor to these students. They take advantage of these customized trainings for supervisors, from onboarding, how to deal with difficult situations with student interns, and moving on to several topics that they can choose from based on the need within the specific area. And we talk to supervisors, organize them only on individual basis, as well as we invite many supervisors to actually share best practices with each other. And this helps a lot actually on campus to actually make people connected with each other to talk about the specific cases that they have or specific areas that they want to focus on. So this would be one by providing customized trainings and offering them to individual supervisors or group of supervisors on our campus. And I want to follow up with maybe Hope, or Melissa with other practices that they have on campus.
And then you shared about forage.
Yes.
And I think that that's a theme that both you and Melissa have both brought up, which is we believe in internships. Internships are the
Correct.
gold standard. It includes that networking as well as that authentic experience, but we're also talking and in communication with our faculty that are embedding these types of experiences into their courses. And whether that's a data set that you get from the forage.com, which is a great resource that you brought up, Urszula, or whether you're building those data sets yourself, Melissa, like you were doing. Talk to me a little bit about what that outreach is like and perhaps what your experience is working with those faculty that are integrating this into their courses.
Hope, do you want to start?
So I will say at this point I work a lot less with course integration. Like I said, it's my first year in the role, and I'm focusing more on our on-campus pilot internship program at this point.
Yeah, Hope, I'll loop back to you. It was Melissa and Urszula but I'll make sure
Yes.
we get a question specifically for you. But why don't we give that question to
Yeah.
Melissa and Urszula since they both brought it up in their initial
Perfect.
Sure. Well, it could be forage, but there are other opportunities like Wall Street Prep for finance as an example. And often when a vendor will reach out to us, like when Forage reaches out to us and asks us to be a partner school, we will identify appropriate faculty to join us in that webinar to learn about the tool and in deciding whether we're going to use that tool.
And just to be clear, I'm not asking you to speak about forage specifically,
not just
but
about forage.
I understood that you were doing a little bit of this work yourself, where you were working with the employers and you were getting data sets or authentic problems, perhaps not going through forage.
So our employer relations person has of course, she goes out and sells the fact that our students are looking for internships and full-time, but since she's already talking with these employers, it's a whole package of ways that we can ways to engage with our employers. And some employers would really like to work on projects and do use cases and things above and beyond internships or full-time. So it makes sense that our employer relations person is also giving these options to the employers. And our dean even does that as well when they meet with potential employers, even though the conversation with the dean isn't about employment all the time, but it crosses barriers, or crosses lines. So we first identify from the company what they're comfortable in providing. And then we figure out where in the school it can be used, knowing that much of our school uses cases and uses data within capstones and other courses. The issue is getting the company to be okay with providing the data. It's often there, the manager says, I really want to do this, and then legal says, no, we can't provide that. So we've gotten around it to some degree where we've given edited versions of the data, so it's not real, but it's always best if the company is willing to provide data and the students sign an NDA. Our office's relationship is to help develop these, really identify and develop the relationships, but then also support the faculty that are, they're not administrators. So, we can handle the NDAs if you're trying to figure out putting students from the class in certain teams, and if there's an interview process and such, we handle all of that for them, because we have that in our back pocket. That's something easy we do all the time.
I'm nodding along as you're talking about this because I'm in the process of working with FIT and Oneana on a series of fashion business case studies, and we got to the point where we're getting ready to publish, and we're sending them proof copies, and here's what you shared with us already, and them pulling back some information because they're getting a little bit worried that maybe they said too much in their initial interviews. And of course, we're working through that and those things, but I can see exactly how that would happen, Melissa. Urszula, is there anything you'd like to add?
So I wanted to tell you that now at this point, return on investment in terms of education is a huge topic. So faculty, we are research institutions, so our faculty are focused on research a lot. However, more and more faculty are focusing on how students gain experiences, how students gain skills, and how employable they will be by the time they're going to graduate. So industry connections are very popular on our campus. Industry projects altogether are very famous. Reaching out to employer and making the connection with faculty. If this is going to be forage, if this is going to be industry project that a faculty is going to work with the students and the employer throughout the semester, that's the value of proposition that, it's really very attractive to a lot of faculty. So faculty are becoming more open to these type of opportunities on our campus.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. Do you engage with the faculty center or any of the other faculty support operations on campus as you do that type of work?
Absolutely. There's no way that we cannot focus on partnership with CELT. So we not only present to faculty about experiential learning, experiential education, what are the differences, but also what they can do themselves and how they can incorporate experiential learning into their courses. We focus on partnership altogether in our institution. I think that without partners among faculty, academic departments, our work would not be possible. We have 3 different campuses, West, East, Southampton, and we connect with a lot of faculty across. They actually meet a lot with each other and just share practices between each other. In addition to, internships, we expand service learning among our faculty. So there is more and more interest that among faculty in incorporating any type of experiential learning into their courses.
I'm going to shift the conversation a little bit. into skill development, building structure around internships, collaborating with our employers, with our students, with our faculty, or mentoring those students. And I'm going to give this to you first, Hope. How are you working to help set those expectations, to help faculty embed reflective processes in an internship, and ensure that those internships align with those best practices in experiential education? What does that look like at Geneseo?
So right now, again, I will speak more to our on-campus pilot program. This is something I hope to replicate much more widely, both for on and off-campus supervisors in the future, as I take the helm in a little bit for more internship-related responsibilities. But for CLIC, which again is our on-campus pilot program with the 14 different departments, I very much like Urszula was talking about, I have a beginning of right before the semester starts an onboarding process for all the supervisors again, and our supervisors in the departments we place interns range from very early career professionals to people who have been supervising students, student workers, student interns, and working in higher ed for 30 plus years. So bringing them together is very helpful, not only because I am, as I've said, I'm a younger career professional myself. I've only been working in this industry for a couple of years. So it's really helpful, not necessarily me as the expert, but to sort of convene everyone together so that we can talk about what works best for their departments, what they're challenged with. I do do a lot of training on the NACE career readiness competencies for those supervisors so that they have an understanding of what the 8 competencies are, what they entail. We talk about ways that the work their students do, how we can map the specific internship responsibilities to the NACE competencies. Um, in addition, and this is something I share with though I coordinate this is shared with the supervisors and they have full access to it. I have a professional development curriculum for the students in that program. And in particular, so I sort of fill in the gaps, I guess, in terms of written reflection. It's a 2-pronged curriculum because students can stay in our internship program for up to 2 semesters. So we aim to keep them for a full academic year. So the semester 1 interns, and then if they choose to continue on, the semester 2 interns have a scaffolded curriculum approach that touches on all 8 of the competencies. And that's an asynchronous model for 2 reasons. One, it is very hard to get 27 students unless they're in the same registered course into a room at the same time, as we all know. But additionally, when I onboard the supervisors, I talk to them about the importance of helping their students with these reflective assignments, helping them and them talk through the ideas, help them talk through the connections between the NACE competencies and their work, but also in terms of barriers, allowing those interns to work on the assignments as much as is possible, which isn't always possible given the different natures of the work during their hours that they're at their internship site. Because a lot of these students in my program might come from a lower socioeconomic status, so they're doing paid work outside of their internship. They don't have time for me to pile more homework on top of them, on top of their already busy course loads and on top of their already busy lives. So giving the supervisors access to the curriculum, access to the assignments, and the ability to support their students in those assignments, I think has been very helpful. Like
Oh,
I
give me
said,
an example. What's a prompt you might give my
yes.
intern, mid internship? They've been there for a
Mhm.
while. What type of thing would be asking them or asking them to reflect on?
Yes. So we have of course, a bunch of different forms of that. The first semester internships, about halfway through the semester, we have them do. So they just finished this now. We have an alumni career advisor network. So we have one assignment we'll have students do is create a profile on the alumni career advisor network. Choose 3 different alumni that they are matched with through the algorithm based on shared interests. And on this platform, for those of you that use it, you'll know this. For those of you that don't, you'll hear about it. It uses an algorithm to match students and the alumni that sign up for the program based on shared experience and all of those things. So I ask them to identify those alumni, share why they would like to connect with them, and then there's also some written reflections on networking strategies for the future outside of the Alumni Career Advisor Network that they would use.
Now, I'm going to get to the other panelists, but I feel
Yes.
like I feel like I'm grilling Hope here. But can you just say
It's
just
okay.
a little bit more about the Alumni Career Program? Because I think that it's a unique thing at SUNY Geneseo,
Oh,
and I think it's part of your one of the things that makes SUNY Geneseo's approach to experiential learning unique. I heard that every single freshman does a interview with an alumni through this alumni connection program.
so I'm gonna say I don't think that it is true universally for every single first year. I do think there's a lot of embedding of it into the first year seminar courses though, and we're continuing to work on that. The Alumni Career Advisor Network, and see, this is illustrating that I'm a younger career professional. I didn't know that this was SUNY Geneseo specific. But I really, really like it because it is a platform that alumni opt into joining through. So we partner with our Advancement and Alumni Affairs office on it. Um, and it's sort of like LinkedIn, except all of them have opted to be in there. But it's the same thing. Alumni will they'll upload all of their work experience. They'll select things that they're interested in working with students on. So they can select things like informational interviews, resume reviews, um, interview prep, cover letter writing. We have alumni that are willing to help with all of those things, both industry specific and sometimes in general. Um, and I think our students respond to it very positively, and that is because all the alumni have signed up to be there. So, when I have to make the case to students to use it,
I
I'm
think it's a
like,
great program, and I
yes,
didn't want to. I didn't want you to name drop that and then walk
yeah,
away
yeah,
from
yeah,
it. I wanted
no,
to make sure everyone on the webinar knew what we were talking about.
yes.
Melissa, I'm going to go to you next and invite you in. Talk to me a little bit about that learning experience, that skill development, what you're doing to support those students who are being placed in internships.
Well, in order to post an internship with us, the employer needs to explain how the experience um, can be defined within the NACE competencies. So when we post the opportunities, it's clear to the student what skills you need and what skills you'll be gaining. And then at the end of the experience, the student is either presenting for 15 minutes through big interview and giving a video of it where they have to, one of the things they have to talk about is the competencies that they developed, what they got out of it, or they can do it in person during our showcase. But we also meet with, when I say we, I really mean my internship team. They meet with the students midway, but and this goes into scaling, they meet with all the students at the same time, all the students who are doing credit bearing internship, which in one semester could be 100. They break it up so that it's manageable and it's not just, I'm one of 100 people and I can't get my voice heard. And they talk about the development, where you are at this point. Are you not as far as you thought you would be? Have the conversations with your supervisor about how I can do XYZ more in order to gain more of a competency. So they also do large group halfway through the semester, similar meetings with the supervisors. Now, when you do it together with a bunch of interns and a bunch of supervisors, they can talk amongst themselves to say best practices, or this is the issue I'm having. Has anyone else had that issue and how have you handled it? In addition to getting advice from the Career Center. And our university-wide Career Center has done much of what Hope was describing and Urszula was describing in terms of our on-campus internship training. That's something have been inspired to think about doing now, is creating, even if it's just a 20-minute video for our off-campus internship supervisors that is best practices, because we offer these workshops, but the intern supervisors have to actually come to them or be at them to see it. But I'm thinking of video for those who can't make our professional development seminars might be the next step that we take.
Yeah. And I just like I didn't want Hope to name drop her alumni network and let her just walk away from that. I really I'm interested in your use of Big Interview. I recently learned about Big Interview in the last couple of years. It's a AI guided interview platform where a student can be given an assignment code and do a practice interview. And you've integrated this into your internship program, so every single intern either presents or does a big interview on their internship experience.
And then that video is watched by our internship team, and it leads to their credit and whether they've passed the internship or not. So it also helps us figure out who do we need to have conversations with because they're not presenting themselves well, or they didn't have as good of experience in the second half as we wanted them to, and let's work on this. So yeah, we use that tool. We use that tool in a lot of other ways too that aren't internship specific, that might be even more traditional, but I would say every single one of our undergraduate and our MBAs will use Big Interview multiple times while they're a student with us.
Interesting. We recently got a presentation to a cohort of faculty members about Big Interview and incorporating it into different courses. So I was really interested to hear that you're incorporating it into internships and the supervision around internships as well. That's a really interesting.
Really easy. It's flexible. You can use it think outside of the box when you're using it. They have questions, not to sell everyone on Big Interview, but other platforms are the same way where they'll have questions that are read from someone who's being recorded. They're standard questions, but then you can also create your own list, and it won't be a face of someone on the screen asking that question. It would just be the written question in front. And so in a course, you could use it if you wanted someone to present on something specific, and you need 30 of those and you want to go through all 30 of them fast to grade them. Big Interview is one way that you could do it.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Ursula, I'm going to get to you. I feel like I've been neglecting you and haven't been hammering you with questions. So I want to start with you for our next question, and it's about scaling internships. And we believe in internships. We believe in the meaningful mentorship, the individualized learning, the partnerships that we get with industry through it. And when we talk about scaling, it makes some people nervous that we're throwing out some of what makes internships great in order to get there to scale. I want to get your perspective on that, and what have you encountered, and what's the path forward for us as we seek to scale these experiential learning opportunities, but not lose the heart of it in SUNY.
Absolutely. So, in my opinion, scaling internships goes through all of the partnerships that we have on our campus, which means students. It's important to show them the value of internships, our faculty, and also prove to them that internships work and the experiential learning is very important part of student life, and also departments, and really showcasing to them because of interns, we can do so much more work than anybody can do by themselves. So more of a going after different stakeholders that we work in terms of scaling opportunities. I would say with students, it goes back to what Melissa was talking and Hope was talking about articulation of what I got and what skills did I gain through experiences. At the end of the day, through COVID, we have students who have challenges, and our employers are telling us they don't really know how to speak to the value of their experiences. So what do we do to actually showcase this and show to students, this is how you talk about your experiences, and this is how you can actually showcase this to the next employer. So we created ACEs, this is a recognition. So in our opinion, recognizing students for their skills and gaining experiences is a crucial piece to scale them among themselves. So we create programs that they are very attractive to students because students talk to each other. So ACEs are skill-based digital badges that students are gaining at Stony Brook University for being in the experiences, primarily internships. So there is no badge by sitting in the class, but rather getting this through the experience and gaining the skills. It became very popular for students because they say, I want to have this digital badge on my LinkedIn account. So what do I do to get this internship? So that's the one. Now, going to faculty is more of a, selling piece and return on investment that we talked about this before. But what is the point of creating more internships? That's the value to faculty. And especially some academic programs now these days, they do struggle with enrollment. So this would be an attractive piece to a lot of faculty academic departments to expand the number of internships in the specific field for their students. And then finally, departments. I would say that scaling internships is easy job for us because we showcase one excellent internship to one department who actually didn't create an internship, or maybe showcase what we can do with off-campus employers and how much of a return value interns bring to their organizations. This usually is very easy sell point as well. So scaling is more of a, also we can not only think about quantity, but also quality. So really focusing on expectations for not only students, but also their supervisors, on-campus, off-campus employers, and making sure that these students are gaining from these experiences what they should gain.
Thank you, Urszula. Melissa, can I ask you the same question?
Sure, we're gonna have to ask the question again.
No
There's
problem.
a lot
So the
going on in
question was
my
about
head.
the scaling of internships.
Yeah.
And how do we keep the heart of what makes internships special as we scale it? We believe in scaling. Scaling is an equity move. It's embedding it into the curriculum. It's making sure that every student has access to experiential learning. We know this, but how do we keep the heart of internships strong as we do those scaling?
Yep, because quality is more important than quantity. In some cases, people might think quantity is more important than quality, so we need to have both. And so I'm going to take this from a different approach. One way to scale, since we don't want to get rid of our one-on-one engagement, especially when it's needed, is to make other things take less time so that we have more time to handle the one-on-one when it's needed. So our internship team has really has worked with our tech and analytics staff member and has worked with our vendors to figure out how to modify the tools that we're using so that our staff isn't paper pushing as much as they used to. And that means more time to go out and communicate with employers to hire interns, and more time to sell the fact that an intern is a valuable thing to do to our students. It has allowed us more time to focus on our sophomore class and the fact that they should be doing interns, and we had never done that before. So we have like a sophomore externship experience that we collaborate with university-wide on. And that's actually open to anyone in Western New York who's a student, regardless of what school you went to. So when you have students who are at Stony Brook, but they live in the summer in Western New York, tell them to look up the SEE program, SEE. But then we have sophomore sites. So we're focusing on getting sophomores to be willing to do an internship, even if it's not for pay, because it's with a not-for-profit, because we're able to sell sophomores to not-for-profits a little easier than to companies who want to pay. But these students, we're selling them on the idea. Scale comes in when sophomores have good experiences they're a better candidate because of that experience, and they can find a good or even better junior level or senior level internship afterwards. So that helps scale to get the students interested in and get them active. Other ways that we've scaled. I have my list here. So I think that we kind of fight scaling a little bit because we don't want to give up on the quality. And so, but there's nothing we can do about it because we keep adding programs. We're adding new degrees at the undergraduate level, new degrees at the graduate level, and that means more students, and more students will want internships. So, you know, we fight for more staff. We fight for more resources. And what usually has to happen, because we don't get those things, is we look to things like our global programs, which are students doing 2-3 weeks in other parts of the world. Can we give them credit for that if they're tied up with a family or a company when they're there doing a project? So that's another way we're scaling, is to collaborate with non-internship experiences and seeing how we can turn that, add an internship experience onto things that are already happening there.
Thank you so much, Melissa. I'm going to take the last 2 minutes and talk about where the FACT2 group is going next. This was our second webinar in our series. I hope you'll join us next week. Next week, our topic is more course-based, making every course experiential, strategies for curricular integration. After that, we do have a panel that's going to be focused on global, just like you were talking about, Melissa. And then we're going to be talking about evidence and impact and how we're gathering that data on the 24th. And then as we finish up the semester, we're going to look at what's next. How do we keep collaborating between institutions on this topic? And as we're doing this, we're also working to assemble and to bring together what we're calling the Experiential Learning Champion Playbook. And these are small things that we can learn from each other. What are the things that we're doing on campus? I know several of our panelists from today have submitted into the playbook already, and those are already going through the peer review process. We've got our first 7 that have gone through the peer review process posted online, and our call for proposals is still open and will be open till that day of that last webinar. And so until May 1st, we're going to be accepting those. And so the things that we are doing on campus that are innovative, that are helping us scale, that maybe aren't helping us scale, but are helping us stay personal, as Melissa urged us in her last share. Those are the things that we want to collect. We want to put them together and to have as a resource for people in SUNY who are thinking about doing this important work. I want to thank our panelists. Please join me in thanking them for spending an hour with us today. And I want to thank you for choosing to fly with us to make it go full circle to how we started our day. It's been a great hour, and I want to thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Lots of appreciation coming in from the chat for you all panelists. Thank you very much.